Who is your favorite comic book hero and why? Jim Gordon from DC Comics and by extension, The Killing Joke. Written by Alan Moore. He is a police commissioner in a dangerous and corrupt city. He is a normal man. He doesn't have any superpowers or super anything. He just wants to do the best job he can to make his city safe and a decent place to live. His daughter is shot and he is kidnapped by the Joker. He is tortured by the Joker and sees pictures of his daughter in bloody agony. But he refuses to break or give in to his lowest instincts. He doesn't want revenge after all the pain Joker inflicted on him. Barbara. And the citizens of Gotham. Gordon still wants it done right. I want it done by the book. I want to show him that our way works. The man has an unquenchable will and is driven to seek justice and harmony, not revenge. Nightwing. He's like Batman, but if Batman was actually enjoyable to be around. Magneto. He's not a hero in the traditional sense. He's more of an anti-hero. What he represents is the complex, morally gray area in which the pursuit of freedom and equality operate. Magneto and Professor X essentially want the same thing: freedom and safety for mutant kind. The difference is in their approaches. Professor X seeks the path of nonviolent resistance. He believes that for humanity to accept mutants, mutants must prove they are not a threat. This means that they should turn the other cheek. But the consequence of that is that many mutants will suffer abuse during that course. Magneto has a different view. He is a Holocaust survivor, so the notion of allowing a government to systematically oppress a group of people and just hoping things will turn around on their own doesn't sit well with him. He has seen enough suffering and doesn't want any harm to come to his people because of the ignorance and prejudice of others. If mutants need to resort to violence to defend themselves and replace the existing government with one that will protect their kind, so be it. Both Professor X and Magneto make strong cases, and it's impossible to know who will ultimately be right. Whose side would you take if your own life or the lives of those you cared about were on the line? Magneto's juxtaposition to Professor X shows us that the world is not black and white. Society is a complex web of diverse, yet equally valid values, motivations, and personal philosophies. John Constantine, aka Hellblazer. Especially Matt Ryan's version. The Thing. He has a great mixture of legitimate self-deprecation and character depth. He's a loyal friend, hard worker, and a champion of the people. Moon Knight, when he's written correctly, with thoughtfulness about his mental illness and what it means to him, and not just a ha-ha he's kooky story. The mental instability and multiple personalities can be gripping. See Jeff Lemire. Other than him, Daredevil. Definitely the most badass. Hulk gets hulky from radiation. But DD went fucking blind and still managed to become a badass. Edit. I'd recommend starting your Moon Knight experience with the Lemire run. It seems to be the one Marvel is promoting right now. And little to no prior knowledge is required. I'm always gonna have a place in my heart for Billy Batson, and for Vibe. I think Drive. Manhattan had a great depth to him. Miserable and misunderstood by everyone. Yet kind of always looking for a way to help. People relate to that. Gambit. He just has a cool set of powers. Love that he can charge any item and even other people. Hellboy. He boy from hell. Doctor Strange. He's just so interesting and his powers are so cool. 10 out of 10 would waste my money again. Doesn't get enough credit, but Tintin. He's just a regular journalist with a trusty dog who uncovers massive finds and covers big stories while still maintaining his honor as a journalist first and an adventurer second. Also, he does some crazy shit in his stories. Mons goes to the moon. It's wild. The Tick. Isn't sanity really just a one-trick pony? Anyway, I mean, all you get is one trick. Rational thinking. But when you're good and crazy. Ooh hoo hoo hoo. The sky's the limit. Moon Knight. He's a brutal fighter with severe mental health issues, including dissociative identity disorder, aka multiple personality disorder. At one point he mentally became a whole Avengers team consisting of Captain America, Wolverine, Spider-Man, and himself. Occasionally you have to start questioning if something is actually happening, or if it's in his head, especially when he's talking to people. Even he can't tell the difference sometimes. I appreciate having a hero that represents those of us with some form of mental health problem. Showing that it's hard and no one outside of your own head truly understands what you're going through. Jack Knight, Starman from DC Comics. James Robinson's Starman series. He is a reluctant hero, which is both interesting and relatable. He's got his own set of priorities and has to learn, often the hard way, what being a hero is all about. His villains are complex and he recognizes that, which ends up in him befriending his adversaries Steven Universe style. I don't want to spoil too much for people who haven't read this brilliant series. But James Robinson insisted that his character be largely self-contained, which allowed him to have total creative control over the writing. Any DC-mandated crossovers or team-ups were handled fantastically, which often involved Starman calling out the stupid stuff the Justice League did. He was an entirely human character that suffers loss, assault, and has real struggle and reacts within the realm of believability. And his entire hero story has a true arc. You are left 100% satisfied with the conclusion of the 10-trade run. Flash. If you want to be Superman and your birth certificate doesn't say Krypton, you're screwed. Nobody wants their parents off just to make them twisted enough to become Batman. Fortune or not, Green Lantern needs to be able to conquer fear. Wonder Woman? Wrong gender. Not born on the island. Martian Manhunter. Hawkman? Wrong planet. Flash. Just be minding your own business working in your lab and bam. Superpowers. Kick ass. I don't care if the comic was a grotesque edgefest that jumped a million sharks. A teenager who decides to dress up as his own superhero to fight crime and subsequently get his ass kicked is exactly what I wanted from a comic when it first came out. Daredevil. Anyone who rises way above their physical limitations are great heroes in my book. Captain Underpants got my son to read actual books. Kinda sorta. My hero. Booster Gold. He's a lovable fuck-up and secretly the greatest hero in the DC multiverse. That's a tough one. I always like the Astro City lineup, but honestly it might be Red Sun Superman. Weird choice, but that was a helluva run. Barry Allen. The Flash. Whatever I imagine he has done it. The only thing that holds him up is himself, which is actually very relatable. The Sandman, written by Neil Gaiman, aka Morpheus or Dream. He is the anthropomorphic personification of the driving force behind our goals in life. Our dreams while awake and asleep. Dreams are the things we humans aspire to. His narrative is not just his own. He is an omnipresent entity that guides people's lives. Most of the comic's narrative surrounds the people who are influenced by Dream. He is not a standard cookie-cutter hero. Sometimes he betters people's situation and other times he makes people's situations worse. He often rights wrongs, but his actions are more focused on keeping a cosmic balance than to save the world. It's also for adults and has been dealing with heavy topics like sexual abuse, LGBT characters, drug abuse, alcoholism and slavery since its first appearance in the 1980s. Unlike any other comic I have ever read, the story of the Sandman feels closer to being real on a philosophical level than any other fantasy genre comic. Over the course of the Sandman comics history it has won the World Fantasy Award, 2001, 26 Eisner Awards, the Bram Stoker Award, 1999 and 2003. IGN Award for Best Vertigo Comic Ever, Hugo Award for Best Graphic Story, 2016. It is the comic that, for the first time, attracted a relatively equal male-to-female readership ratio. It's just that good. Hawkeye, Clint Barton. In the comics he is very sassy and witty. He is really upstanding. He's also deaf in many series. As someone with hearing issues, it's always made me happy to see a superhero with some of the same issues. He even uses ASL in some series. It's just really cool representation. Florida Man. He's everything I wish I was. A beacon of hope. Edit. Wow, this got way more attention than I thought it would. Thank you, and I wish I was a brilliant artist so I could make this an actual comic book. Spider-Man, because of his relatability. He's thrust into his difficult story and a teenager battles with morality all the time because of how much it affects his other life. He takes a job for a deplorable person who hates him because he has no other real choices. The kid is a genius and an inventor. He's basically always depicted as broke as hell as well. One of Peter's biggest challenges is that he has to be a normal person as well as Spider-Man, which is difficult enough in NYC, juggling work, family, relationships and his personal sense of morality. A fantastically flawed and well-presented character and role model. One thing to add, I guess? I do not like the current interpretation of Spider-Man at all. I have nothing against Tom Holland. He is a fantastic actor. His other movies are quite good. He was probably actually the best choice for the role in my opinion, but these are not good Spider-Man movies. Now I'll debate myself on certain topics about that point, but in general I'm not crazy for them. Batman because of the animated series. Or Dr. Fate because he is badass. Blue Beetle, the Jamie Reyes version, is pretty dope. Wolverine. He endures. His story is just so tragic and heart-wrenching. But he is still a good guy. Many villains have become so with a far better existence. I actually have Wolverine tattooed on me twice. A part of a half sleeve in Wolverine, Jolly Roger chest piece. I'm a huge nerd. He's kinda obscure. But Rex Splode from the Invincible comic series. He starts out as a selfish dick but he slowly redeems himself. As his last act was letting himself die to give his teammates enough time to escape,